I got my Durade box mounted back on the boat. I had to cut this hole a little bigger. Fortunately, I split the wood again, and I think I could just maybe put some sealant around here and make that look better down the road. But it seems on there like it's on there plenty good for now. Now I have to run over to West Marine to get a new turnbuckle so I can put my old shroud back on the boat. Just picked up the new turnbuckle middle piece. 50 bucks for that thing. Should have just kept the Dyneema. I think for 50 bucks I could have bought enough Dyneema to replace all the lower shrouds and just kept it with that. But I'm kind of itching to go, and this will get me back out to sea faster. So Bill wasn't going to be moving to the shop for a couple more days, so he said it was cool if I continued to use the sewing machine and 3D printer. So I'm just knocking out a few of these bags for Jacklines and stuff. Ackery sent me a whole bunch more canvas than I needed, so I kind of want to use up all the scraps because I got a bunch of big scraps that would make really useful bags, and I had a bunch of scraps of this Lifelines too. So this will be just a giant bag that'll hang on the Lifelines, and just kind of a multi-purpose thing for Jacklines or things that need to dry out, like scuba wetsuits and fins and stuff like that. And I just kind of keep them easily accessible and not have to dig through the cockpit lockers where they always get lost and fall way down underneath. And then a load of stuff to bring down to the boat, some groceries and water and everything. I found this silicone Ziploc bag. I figured that might be good to hold my receipts in while I'm sailing. Tonight I'm testing out my Iridium Go satellite communicator device thingy. I've got the external antenna mounted up onto the Dodger, and if that works out good, I'll mount that permanently. And we're paired over Wi-Fi to the Iridium mail and web app, and I was able to get a weather forecast. This is compared to my old Garmin InReach. This is way more details. You get temperatures, pressure, wind speed, wind direction, thunderstorm probability, and you can configure all the different parameters you want. There's even more, and go way out in the future too. So I do like that. I haven't figured out the grid files. I think I might need to subscribe to Predict Wind to get that, but I'll play around with that. There's also supposed to be a web browser that wasn't working really for me. I'm gonna try to figure out how to hook up a Twitter account. I have one, but I usually don't use it. I'd like to do Instagram, but I don't think that's possible. But maybe I can figure a way to send that to someone on land. I got an email sent, and a test email, and I was able to send a picture with that, so that was kind of cool. It's definitely pretty compressed, but it works. I've been playing around a little more with my Iridium Go device, and I found this new app called Luck Grib, and this is I think what I'm going to use to download my weather grid files. Let's see, the way it works is you can select a region you want by going to here, so you draw it out. Let's say we want this area, and then so we got a region, then we go and we can select a grib to download. So new file, download new file, and it gives you lots of options for different ones. So I'll just do this first one. You can see you have settings for how frequent, how long, and it gives you the approximate file size. And you can change this, I believe, to Iridium Go. That's the next thing I need to experiment with. And you can even set it to, if you know your course you're going on and how many miles you're doing a day, this could be an easy way to just adjust your region. So we will download that. Start download. You can see it's very fast. These grid files are quite small. And there you have it. And so of course a grid file, you can have different different layers in here. I do kind of like the stream one, and you can play through the timeline here. You have a kind of a key for wind speed. You can also see more detailed graphs over here. I like that. And I'm sure there's much more features on here. This app has very nice tutorials. I'm using the free trial. I think it has a $25 one-time fee to buy it, and I think I will buy it. it's nice having just a one-time thing. I hate how everything is subscriptions. It really kind of bothers me. But I like how the way they've set this app set up. I'm gonna test it with Iridium Go next and see how that works. But I think this might be a good alternative to the Predict Wind, which was going to be $200 a year. I think maybe it was even more, and it seems to have similar. So I've got the Iridium Go now, doing this internet call thing. It seems like it's going through the process of downloading a grid, and we'll see if it comes. Oh, here we go. How long did that take? It took 3 minutes and 20 seconds, which I definitely have plenty of time out there, so that should be fine. So I'm gonna hit close, and now we can see our grid we downloaded. And again, I like this little diagram of the wind. So that really wasn't too difficult. That was one of those things that was kind of looming over me on my list, learn how to use this satellite device, but I feel like I got the hang of it good enough to go offshore with it. I've got the app on both of my iPhones, and then I also have the other satellite device, so it's like super redundant. I got my replacement turnbuckle, so I'm gonna go back and reinstall this lower shroud that came unattached on my shakedown cruise, and I will also go through and tighten all the shrouds to the tension I think they should be, and put some safety wire in them. And then after that, I've got these Jacklines. These Jacklines were donated by a viewer. Thank you very much for that. These are polyester, I believe, which is what you're supposed to use, but I think probably you could just use nylon and whatever. But they have a little less stretch, which is good when you fall over. You don't want the line to stretch out and drag you behind the boat. So I've got plenty of Jacklines, so I'm gonna run these up the boat, and these are basically what I clip into. And when I clip in, I use my my harness here. So I clip this carabiner in there, and those Jacklines run from the cockpit all the way to the front of the boat, and then on each side. And then it actually goes from one winch base around the front of the mast, and then back to the other winch base, and then I have a smaller line that goes from the mast to the very front of the boat. Lifelines running back. Darn it. Back to here. So I'm just going to do a soft shackle to connect these points because I don't have quite enough room for a knot. I just screwed this magnet onto the Dodger, and this is a magnet antenna, so that seems to fit pretty good right there. And I had signal there earlier. Here's my giant soft shackle, which will go up the Jacklines. Now I'm going to make another soft shackle for the Lifelines. These are pretty easy. I just cut about, I don't know what's that, maybe 4 feet of Dyneema, whatever size you want the shackle to be out of. And then you kind of pick where the middle is, and you put your fid in the middle. Okay, and then you get whatever the other end is, and you feed one end from the middle of the line, about maybe a foot, maybe a little less, like 10 inches from the end. So I just make it come out right here. And these are the Selma fids. They're nice because they have a little, like this little punch area, so it lets it grip onto the line. I really like these. They're expensive, but if you're gonna do a few of these, it's kind of nice to have. Definitely don't need them. You can just use a pen or a knitting needle. Knitting needles work good. You just kind of cut the cut the end off. So then you just kind of milk it so you have your ends are about equal. Right in the line that went through the other one, you just open him up and you're gonna run this guy through there. I'll use a fid to do that. So basically we're just kind of locking the two together. So now we got kind of a lock splice, and then there's a little loop on the other end. It's very small. And then basically you just tie these into a big knot, a big stopper knot. So I'm using a lanyard knot at the end, and this is, I don't know, I always find this the hardest part to remember how to tie this big knot. You just need a big ball to kind of stop it. So here I ended up making two of these, so that's what the end knots look like. And so I'm going to just wrap the end in a little bit of this is it's called rescue tape. It's just a silicone self-amalgamating tape. You just kind of stretch it out. I like it because it doesn't have adhesive on it, and it lasts for a long time. And then I just chop off the ends. And so the way these work is you just open up the little eyelid over here, put your knot through, tighten it back up, and then that shouldn't come undone. You can see it's nice and tight. The eye would have to open it up and it'd have to slide over the knot for it to fail. As long as you got it nice and tight, it should stay. And so I have two of these, so these are going to be for my lifelines to attach to. So for the last part of lifelines, I just made 2 lengths of thinner Dyneema, and I did a locking Brummel splice on the ends, and then you just kind of bury it in there. And so I'm going to lash these on the front of the boat. That's pretty straightforward. You just kind of do a lark's head on there, and then I just ran it through a few times, got this nice and tight, and then lash that on there, and I'll do the same on the other side. And that's lifeline number 2. So my friend loaned me this tension gauge. I've never used one of these things before. I always just kind of felt my rigging and I said, oh, it looks tight enough. But it does have kind of a rough guide for, you know, the diameter, what kind of tension you might want to be in. Of course, this won't tell you if your mast is straight. You still have to do that by eye. And I think the real test is, this is kind of a starting point, or either using this or just kind of feeling if it's tight is a good starting point. But I think the best thing to do is just to kind of take it out of sail and look at the leeward side when you're in pretty good breeze and see if the halyards are slack, and then I just kind of tighten them up both equally until it's they kind of take out they still feel kind of taut and they're not flapping around. So I'm starting with the backstay, and my rigging is 1/4 inch, and we're reading it at a 30 up here, so you can see that's about 8% the braking strength. I think maybe I could maybe crank it up a little tighter. I think that would be nice because the furler up there is kind of heavy, so maybe that would help with the pumping a little bit. I think we're getting close. I'm gonna go over and look at the bend in the mast. So we're bending a couple of degrees. I made a dumb mistake the other day when I drilled the hole because there was some metal. I forgot about that. I didn't clean up the metal shaving, so now it rusted all the gel coat. But one day I'm gonna repaint the whole deck, maybe. I just finished tuning the rig. I'm gonna go make some salmon, and then I'm gonna head back to the shop to finish a couple more 3D prints. I'll take one off and start a new one. I'm getting towards the end of finishing up those bug screens, and I need to remake my window tightening tool because I gave one away. I think what I'll do, since I get a lot of flack for not fishing on my Atlantic crossing, is I'll bring a bunch of frozen fish, and then I'll have a line out, so like I'm fishing, and then at the end of the day I'll just show myself cooking a frozen fish, and it will look like I caught dinner, and maybe that will appease people. but only you guys that watch this video will know. I'm not a fan of the water in Oriental, although the water out at my workshop is pretty nice. So I filled up a couple of these water bags, and I'm gonna dump them into my tank so I don't have to use the hose here. I've got 2 of the MSR bags and 1 of the Hydro Pack bags, which the Hydro Pack bags are also kind of nice. They're not quite as big, but where they really shine is their accessories. They use the same threads for the lid, so you can interchange them with the MSR bags. But the cool thing about the Hydro Packs is they have like, they got a shower, they got like a spigot, and all the MSR ones has is this tiny little pour, which like if you're trying to fill up a water bottle or something, that guy takes forever. And then the medium sized one is just a little bit too big. But these have like much more useful little caps. And there's also a little pump you can use with it, and I really like that. And you can even get, I think there's filters for like purifying like stream water to get out stuff that will make you sick. Obviously it won't do salt water, but if you're camping and stuff, that's real nice to have. Just got back to the workshop, and that's 1 more screen that's done. So I think I'm just going to print the other half of this, and then I will print the connectors and my little tightening tool, and I think that will be good enough. So I'll have 5 screens. It'd be nice to have all 8, but I just don't have time to let them all print. This winch hasn't worked well since I put the boat in the water, so I'm gonna finally take it apart again. So I can hardly get this winch apart. This part's supposed to unscrew separately from this, but it's taking the whole inside out. It looks like there's a bunch of like dried up grease in there, maybe. I don't know what's going on. No wonder I was having issues. It's really bad. Get this thing cleaned out and put some more grease on it. Dissolve all that nasty stuff. There's so much gunk in here.
This aluminum?
I think so.
I don't want to, it's too hot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this thing is bad. So I had to make a slight adjustment to this guy. There just wasn't quite enough clearance under here for the little knob to work. But now I've got this file and it's working pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll release these on Thingiverse. And you can probably search for Cape Dory shutters. And then I'll also release the screen file. There we go. So that would be this. If you want to try to build your own. With the screen file, you can kind of, I would recommend printing with a finer nozzle, like a 0.25. Although you could get away with a thicker nozzle, but you would need to adjust some of the parameters. The current spacing is 1.5. You would probably want to, so these, the net width. So you'd probably want to increase this number if you're going to use a bigger nozzle, and you can play around with these, and it should update it. And if you use this file, there's also a little sample piece that you can print, so you can make sure it works before you spend the the 4 hours to print this whole thing. It's looking like I'm still on track to leave Saturday. One more day to do my last little preparations. Just need to get some, go to the grocery store and finish a few last little things. And then I'll be sailing through Adams Creek. I think the wind's going to be light enough that I can probably just motor through or motor sail. And then if I need to wait for weather again, I'll stop in Beaufort or Cape Lookout. It'll probably be about 6 days to get to Bermuda. Probably spend 4 days there, 3 or 4 days there, and then sail into the Azores would be the next plan, which would probably be a couple weeks, depending on if I get stuck in that high pressure system. So that's the plan. I'll see you guys next time.